Golf is a game that is played. To improve, you have to become a better player. There is no other way. If you just keep buying new golf clubs, you're the same player with different golf clubs. If you keep changing your swing, you're the same player whose swing looks different all the time. If you just practice more, you're the same player who just practices more. So how do you become a better player and improve? In this video, I'm going to explain the 3 things I have my students focus on to become better players and greatly improve. Hello, senior golfers. My name is Phil Moore. I'm a golf instructor, a golf writer, and a club maker. My golf studio is located at the beautiful and very popular Goose Creek Golf Club in Mira Loma, California. For many years, I'm a senior golfer, and for many years I've specialized in working with senior golfers. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how I help senior golfers become far better players, and in doing so, learn to score far better than they ever have before. You know, I believe that to become a better player, there's 3 areas I found. There's 3 areas that I really want my seniors to focus on. And the first area is self-belief. Self-belief. This is so important. I remember the poet and writer Maya Angelou said, "The real difficulty is to overcome how you think about yourself." And that's so true. You know, golfers have these limiting self-beliefs that just permanently inhibit their ability to improve. I remember the writer Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull and his book Illusions. Bach said, "Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours." And isn't this what golfers do all the time? You know, I can't putt. I can't hit sand shots. I can't break 90. I can't do this. I can't do this. I suck at this. I suck at that. It's just, don't stop arguing for your limitations. I often quote Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." You know, start having more of a positive mindset. You know, these limiting self-beliefs are, you know, they're the hardest things for me to deal with as a coach, and they're the hardest things for my students to overcome. You know, it's so easy to help students hit the ball better. It's so easy. You know, I'll have seniors who never broke 90, and I work with them. I used to be perplexed earlier in my career because I'd work with them, and they'd become better at every aspect of the game. They'd be better at putting and chipping and pitching and sand shots and driving. They'd be better at everything, and yet their scores weren't any better. They would still keep making the same scores, still be in the middle 90s. They might go out and shoot 41 in the front 9 and then 50 on the back. They just always would self-sabotage. I have a student recently named Jim who can't break 100 because he's always tries to hit the ball too hard. He's very wild off the tee, can't get the ball in play. But he's a pretty good putter. You know, remarkably, he's a pretty good putter and chipper. His short game is okay, and that keeps him in the low hundreds. So I built him a driver, a play club. It was only short, about 42 inches, had a lot of loft and a closed face. It's like a 3-wood with a big head, and he can get the ball and play with it. And he came back and said, "Yeah, you know, it's the first time in my life I hit every fairway." And I said, "That's great, Jim. What did you shoot?" "Oh, 108. Well, how's that possible?" He says, "Well, you know, for the first time, my putting went south. I couldn't putt at all." This is so typical. We just self-sabotage because of our limiting self-belief. So, you know, how do I get past this? How do I help? I found 4 ways to help my students break through these limiting belief systems. And the first way is, now we'll talk about in this video, the first way is to help them see the game differently. You know, for students, for example, that struggle to break 90, they never broke 90, and maybe they're struggling, they can't even break 100. They think breaking in the 80s is, they don't know how to do it, and it's way out there somewhere. and they just don't believe they ever will. So I'll say, okay, I can give you 3 questions. First of all, can you learn to keep the ball in play? If we work together with your driver, can you learn just to keep the ball in play? And they said, yeah, I could do that. And then I say, okay, the second, can you learn to advance the ball safely down the fairway so you're within 100 yards in regulation? Like on a par 3, on one shot, can you get within 100 yards of the green? On a par 4 and 2 shots, can you get within 100 yards of the green in 2 shots? And they say, yeah, certainly I could do it. Of course I can do that. And then I say, finally, can you learn, once you're within 100 yards, can you learn to get up and down in 3? Can you get on the green in 2 putt? And they said, yes, I can do that. Well, if you can do those 3 things, you can shoot in the 80s right now. So this gives them a clear path. So now they can see how I'm going to do this. And when they play, they keep score, and they monitor. They keep the ball in play when they're within 100. How many shots to get it in the hole, and they start seeing it. Finally, they start seeing a clear path, and that gives them the belief that they can do it. The second thing I have them start to understand themselves differently. And there's 3 things I do to help them understand themselves differently. The first thing I do is, I was listening to a podcast by a golf instructor named Debbie O'Connell, who's very good. I highly recommend. And Debbie was talking about the Ringer scorecard. I don't know if this was Debbie's idea, but it was a great idea. This is how it works. I'll take a student a senior at Goose Creek that struggles to break 100, and they've been playing Goose Creek for 10 years. And I'll say, okay, here's a Goose Creek scorecard. I want you to go home, think about those last 10 years you've been playing Goose Creek, and I want you to go through every hole in the scorecard and write down, try to remember the best way you played that hole in different years, that you parred or birdied. Just write down your best score on every one of those holes, and then bring it back to me. And when they bring it back to me, normally, because over 10 years, they've parred or birdied every hole. Maybe a couple holes are bogeys, but when they come back to me, their best holes are under par. They shoot 67, but they can't break 100. But I said, well, this is your Ringer scorecard. We're going to put your name here, my scorecard, and I want you to look at this, and I want you to understand your potential. I mean, you can bogey every hole in the golf course at Goose Creek and shoot 89, which they've never done. But I say, you've made pars and birdies on every hole, just about every hole. So you have the potential. So don't tell me you don't have the potential. This is your Ringer scorecard, and I want you to update it. Whenever you have a new lowest score, you race it and put it in. And I want you to review the scorecard and remember those great ways, the great shots, the great ways you played the hole. The next way I help people improve their self-belief is with a 2-ball scramble. When we have a playing lesson in the mornings at Goose Creek, we'll tee off on the back 9 at 7 o'clock in the morning when everybody else in the front. And I tell the student, we're going to have a 2-ball scramble. We're going to work on your routine and shot selection, play selection, just work on your playing skills. And we'll just go around the golf course and we'll just play your best shot of every 2. Now, I don't tell them we're keeping score. I just say, go ahead and we're just going to play that way. And I do keep score on the side just for my own purpose. And then after we played 9 holes, this is a student that never broke 100 ever. And I'll say, in your 2-ball scramble today, you shot a 42. And they'll say, well, that's because I got 2 shots. But it doesn't matter. You did it. I didn't hit 1 shot. You did it. You have the ability to shoot in the low 80s. You're just trying to break 100. So again, they start seeing that. And they start believing, well, maybe I do have the ability. I remember one of my mentors, one of the great players, the person that actually founded Easiest Swing, Brian Sparks. He had these little books. This is one of his little original books. Brian would give all of his students this 3 shots notebook. He would give it to every one of his students. And he would say, when you play golf, I want you to list every time your 3 best shots you made in that round and your 3 very best ones. And then bring me the book. I want you to think about those three best shots. Now, Brian understood that we are hardwired for negativity. Due to a survival mechanism known as negative bias, we give a lot more energy to negative shots than positive thoughts. We hold them in our mind. And I want you to do, Brian wanted you to do that, to forget about that. He wanted you to give more energy to the positive thoughts. Start thinking about the positive shots, all the great plays you made, and forget about the negative ones. You hit a poor shot, you just lost your focus. So just forget about it and come back and try to make a better play. So this is how I help my students break through their, that I found to be most successful with me to help them break through their limiting self-belief. I help them understand the game differently, show them a path to improvement. I have them keep their ringer scorecard so they can see that they've had the potential, they've done all the shots. I give them I play 9 holes with them in a 2-ball scramble so they can see they can actually do it. And I have them keep a journal of their 3 best shots every round, and I want them to hold those shots in mind. So the next we have to work on is we have to develop a new playing mindset. New playing mindset. You know, I've talked about this in a previous video I wrote called How to Hit the Ball Better on the Golf Course Than You Do on the Practice Tee. And I also talk about this a lot throughout my book, you know, Understanding Golf. When you're on the practice tee, you're playing calm. If I put an electroencephalogram on you, you would see you're very calm. You have alpha or theta wave brain waves. This calm state is a creative state, and it's easy for you to create shots on the practice tee. Now on the golf course, it's very different. You go into survival mode. If we measured your brain waves, you'd be what they call high beta state. You got a lot of noise going on. You're nervous. You're fearful. You're over analytical. Sometimes you're shaking. You're sweating. You can feel your pulse rate coming up. Now there's no reason for that. You're just playing golf. But golfers typically, you cannot play effectively when you're in survival mode. Your brain is just full of trying to survive and not play golf. You know, you just can't do it. You can't even imagine the shots. Your body can't respond to the intention that you're creating. It can't respond effectively like it does on the practice tee. Now, again, it's all mental. You know, it's the thoughts that get us into the survival mode. So you can also use thoughts to get you out of survival mode and back into creative mode. And there's different ways. You can take deep breaths. You just calm down. You can relieve the tension in your neck. You can shake your hands. You're just aware that you're in survival mode, and you bring yourself down like every athlete does. If you look on the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, you'll see before every shot, they're bringing themselves down. They're quieting themselves. Now, it's a learned skill, but you can do it. You're not stuck with always playing in survival mode the whole 4.5 hours in the golf course. You can bring yourself little by little, know how to bring yourself down into your creative mode. And that's the new playing mindset. You can just get better and better at it, continually work at it. The next thing we're going to do, the third thing, is improve. You're going to improve your playing skills. Now, again, in my book, Understanding Golf, I talk about playing skills. I talk about them a lot, all the time, because these are the things you have absolute control over. There's no reason for you not to improve on them. I mean, the golf swing, you swing the club faster than you can think. So I can understand you're going to struggle trying to control your golf swing, but these skills you have absolute control over. I'm talking about things like shot selection. And I've also, besides my book, I also wrote a video about this too, how senior golfers can improve immediately. And I'll put that down in the description. Things like shot selection. You can learn to pick higher percentage golf shots. Club selection. You can learn to pick a golf club that allows for a high margin of error. Intention. You can create a positive intent of where you want the ball to go instead of what you don't want the ball to go or how you're going to swing. Setup position. You can learn to set up to the ball mentally and physically in a relaxed, productive way, in a way that expands your ability to make square and center contact. Swing focus. You can learn to just swing without thought, without trying to control your swing. You can replace controlling your thoughts with trusting your body. And finally, reaction. You don't When you hit a bad shot, you can just say, okay, I lost my focus. Take a deep breath, forget about it, and go on to the next shot. You don't have to hit yourself over the head and tell yourself how horrible of a golfer you are and just pound and pound and pound yourself. There's no reason to. It's just harmful. Now, the playing skills, again, you have absolute control over them. There's no reason you can't get better at them. And again, read my book or my last video. Just hit my last video, how senior golfers can immediately improve. Now, these are the 3 ways that are guaranteed, I've found, that will make you a better player. Improve yourself, get rid of your limiting self-beliefs, get a new mindset on the golf course, and improve your playing skills. Now, if you stick with this program, you'll improve faster than you ever dreamed possible. And you'll soon become the golfer you always wanted to be. This works. Trust me, this works. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the Effortless Golf series I put together, please subscribe. It helps me. I like to start posting every week. If you have questions, I left my contact information below. You can leave them in the comments, or you can. I enjoy hearing from everybody. You can contact me through my website, philsgolf.com. Or contact me directly, or maybe you can come see me at Goose Creek. I have people from over half the states in the country have flown in to spend a few days with me at Goose Creek, and I always love working with senior golfers. So review the videos below, the ones I talked about, and thanks again for listening. And always remember to take the time to enjoy every shot. Bye now.